Good morning, I'm Suzanne, a horticulturist here at Rogers Gardens, and today I'd like to welcome you to everything you need to know about growing plumerias. There are a couple of ways that you might acquire a plumeria. You might come to Rogers Gardens and pick up a pot like this, or you might get a cutting from a friend, or you might even move into a home that already has plumerias, or you have plumerias in your garden. One of the things about plumerias that is just it's kind of funny to me is how easy they are to grow and how people think that maybe they're more difficult. They're actually really, really easy. They're almost a plant that thrives on neglect, and so just kind of put that in your heart and know that plumerias are not a difficult plant. They're almost like growing a succulent. They are a low water needs plant. All they really need are some really, really well-draining soil, and then just regular watering, but you want it to almost dry out in between waterings. They have these beautiful stems that hold a lot of moisture in them, and so as long as you have that well-draining soil, it's going to be fine. You don't want the roots to be sitting in any sort of water. And a lot of people think, well, oh gosh, I've seen them in Hawaii and it rains every day there, but just remember they have volcanic soil there, and so it just percolates right through. Plumerias come from Mexico and South America. They also have volcanic soil there, and so this is really important to keep in mind. Well-draining soil, never have the roots sitting in water. So suppose someone gives you a cutting, or you buy one, something that's been cut like right about here at the main trunk of the plant. You're going to have a nice clean cut. Try and not crush this this cutting here because it could get a little bit diseased. But you're going to let it harden off for 1 week. Just kind of set it aside. There will be a milky, sappy substance. You don't want to get that in your eyes or maybe even on your skin. For some people it's very, very irritating, but just set it aside. Let it harden off, and then you're going to find yourself some beautiful soil, kind of like this. You see there's a lot of perlite in here, so get yourself like some core soil or some just a potting mix, and then put a lot of perlite in it. You need that to drain really well. Make sure that the roots do not sit in water. It's really important that it not rot while you're growing it. And as your plant starts growing, you're going to see leaves coming out. There'll be little teeny kind of fingers coming out. You're going to just make sure, again, just water it regularly. Let it almost dry out in between. And suddenly in summer, you will have these beautiful blooms coming. And it's on a different kind of a little stem here. It's a nice long stem, and then it has the flowers coming there. Plumerias come in a ton of different colors, anything from white to cream to yellow to pink to dark red to rainbow colored. In my opinion, the most fragrant plumeria flowers are the old school white ones, especially little tiny ones. I find them super, super fragrant, but almost all plumerias have some sort of fragrance. So just pick the color that you like the best. So plumerias can be grown inside. It's not impossible. A lot of people back in the Midwest and other cooler places will grow them indoors during the winter and bring them out in the nicer weather. Not a problem at all, as long as you understand that they do go dormant in the winter. Some people can leave them kind of sitting out in a nice kind of a sunny area, but they will lose their leaves. If you like, you can also take the leaves off, just kind of October-ish. Take the leaves off and put it in a nice dark closet, and it can just be dormant. Don't water it for the entire winter, and then bring it out again in like February or March. Start fertilizing it. So fertilizing, plumerias love to have regular fertilizing, and one of the things you want to do is start kind of like March maybe, just giving them some fertilizer. A little bit more phosphorus would be great for them because they, of course, you want to push the blooms a little bit. You can use any flower fertilizer for them. Just make sure that it's organic and that you use it regularly. Some of the problems that you might find with a plumeria is overwatering. Can't stress it enough. Do not overwater your plumeria. Just maybe once a week in the summer if it's in a pot or in the ground, and then when it's dormant, not really at all. It's really important, but keep that soil well draining. Another issue that I find a lot of guests come in with is the distorted leaves. So they're kind of wrinkled up and maybe don't develop all the way out like this. That could be a couple of issues. Usually it's either aphid damage or it is plumeria rust. So first we'll talk about aphid damage. You want to use an insecticidal soap. Make sure that you're using it, as soon as that plant comes out of dormancy, make sure that you've hosed it off or dusted it off. Do not leave any sort of dust or kind of environmental dirt on the tips of the plumerias, because when the dust settles into these little areas, you want to make sure that it's nice and clean. Either wash it off with water, you can use a duster if it's inside the house, but just make sure that spider mites and aphids do not set up shop on the tips of your plumerias, because they can cause a lot of damage to those leaves that are forming before you can even see them. So plumeria rust is another issue that's going to cause distorted leaves on your plant. You'll be able to see it underneath the leaves back here. It's going to be red, a lot like rust on roses, and it will eventually kind of work its way through. You'll see yellow spots, and again, those distorted leaves, it's a sure sign of plumeria rust. What you'll want to do, just like with the rose, you're going to have to defoliate the whole plant, and you're going to spray it with a fungicide. There are a couple of good products that I can recommend to you. So we have horticultural oil. This is a great one if you have pests or that plumeria rust. It's going to work on both of them. We have a great disease control. If you know it's just the plumeria rust, it is a great product. You're going to spray it on once a week for a couple of weeks and see if that helps. And then always neem oil. Neem oil is a nice, gentle way of getting rid of bugs, and it's also a fungicide as well. So those are the two primary issues that you're going to have with plumerias. I just want to mention with those aphids, one of the ways that you can actually see it later on in the season, because it's not always going to be when it's dormant that the bugs will be setting up shop, but you're going to see a black, kind of like a black sooty mold on the leaves. That is going to be a clear sign that aphids are there. Also, if you have ants running up and down your plant, they are actually farming those aphids, so make sure to get rid of the ants and the aphids at the same time. So whether you grow plumerias indoors or outdoors, they need at least 6 hours of good sunlight each day to produce beautiful green leaves and those flowers, of course. So usually here in Southern California, there are 3 basic kinds of plumerias. Actually only 2, but I do have a third one here today, so I'm going to show that to you. So there's the Plumeria rubra, which has a more pointed leaf. There's Plumeria obtusa, which has kind of a roundish leaf. And today, our special guest is Plumeria pudica. These leaves are fantastic. They're considered spoon-shaped, and they're so pretty. The flowers are big and white and gorgeous. So to recap, plumerias are really easy to grow. All they need are at least 6 hours of sunlight. They need regular watering, but you want it to almost dry out in between, and then they want to have regular fertilizer. Use a flower fertilizer with a little bit more phosphorus to help them get going. Okay, so that's it for me. Everything you need to know about growing plumerias. That was easy, right? Follow us at rogersgardens.com for all your home and garden needs. You can go to our Facebook page, you can follow us on Instagram, and you can go to YouTube and subscribe. We'll see you next time.